How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Ganji. Welcome to another episode of Tier Talk. Guys, today we're going to talk about the Nolan Xavier Wells case. Again, that gentleman in the middle, here he is, 18 years old. Sadly, he left us too soon. It's an interesting case because there's a lot of speculation around this case. We have a lot of videos. We are going to go on the evidence that is there. It is going to be a deep dive. Guys, when I click the videos, be advised there's maybe some commercials. So bear with me. I'm going to mute those commercials, and then we'll go right into the videos. But I have a list of videos we want to show you, and then we have some questions I want to toss to Russ. Now, sadly, this case has gone into concerns about race. I'm sure they're going to be mentioned, but we are going to kind of try to stay clear because we don't think this is a race issue. That's why me and Russ, we were going to do Carmelo Anthony. Then that became about race. And all it does is make people who really want to do a deep dive get a little hesitant. So at the same thing with Anita Grayson's case, who, again, her autopsy results are now out now. So if you guys get a chance, please check out my video on that or the whole playlist. But we're going to give a nice deep breakdown, go over some possible theories. We'll be respectful in our coverage, and I think we're in for a really good discussion. So, Russ, do you mind introducing yourself, sir?
Of course. My name is Russ Hamilton. I am a former and now retired sergeant from California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. I began my career at San Quentin State Prison way back in 1989. From there, I eventually transferred to a smaller prison, became a sergeant. After that, I went on to become a senior juvenile correctional officer at a local facility near me. I currently work for a company that does reentry and rehabilitation work for a local county jail where I'm a case manager and for a local probation department. I am also the author of a book called Killing Complacency, Tactical Awareness for Correctional Professionals. And that about sums it up for me, I guess.
And yes, that's a lot. And guys, if you get a chance, I also have a book on the market too, well, on Amazon, Inmate Manipulation Coded, Breaking Back, a lot of books. If you're in corrections, they're great reads. Even if you're not, there's a lot of information you can learn from the books that me and Russ have both written. Okay, let me just put my first link. I'm going to start incorporating more videos in the coverage that we do because it just makes things more interesting than just talking heads. So I'm learning how to do that. Let me just put the first link in the on standby. So it's got like a 30-second commercial, so we'll worry about that in a bit. All right, so first let's talk a little bit about who Nolan Wells is real quick so we get an idea of who he is. And then I'll show you the first link I got. And then after that, I got the first question for me and Russ to address. So here's what we know about Nolan Xavier Wells. And again, let me show you his picture. Again, he's the gentleman in the middle. I believe these are his parents, if I'm correct. All right, so Nolan Xavier Wells was an 18-year-old black male from Ocean Springs, Mississippi, a multi-sport student athlete who, by every account from coaches, teachers, friends, and family, was the kind of person who lit up every room he entered. He was described as humble, respectful, hardworking, and deeply grounded in family and faith. Standing about 6'1" and weighing close to 180 pounds, Nolan was a former standout at Ocean Springs High School, where he played football and excelled academically. After high school, he went on to play wide receiver at Southwest Mississippi Community College, that's SWMCC, that's in Summit, Mississippi, and was entering his sophomore year. Nolan was set to turn 19 in August of 2026. He was scheduled to return to campus to begin football practice on Monday, July 6th, the very morning his body was recovered off Horn Island. According to civil rights attorney Ben Crump, he also had an important football tryout scheduled for that Monday, which his family and coaches saw as a major opportunity for him. His high school head coach, Jake Bramlett, said in a written statement that Nolan was so much more than an outstanding football player, emphasizing that he carried himself with humility, treated others with respect, and led by example, with his character speaking louder than his accomplishments. Southwest Mississippi Community College officials likewise issued statements mourning the loss of a student they described as a positive presence on and off the field. Now, just days before his disappearance, Nolan's mother, Christine Wansley, and I think this is Christine Wansley right here. That's his mom. shared a TikTok video of the two of them shopping together at Target and Marshall's for college supplies. A normal, happy moment between a mom and her son, now frozen in time as one of the last clear glimpses of Nolan's life before July 4th. So this brings us to our first quick video. It's 1 minute and 44 seconds. Let me go. And then what I'll do is it's just playing a commercial real quick. So bear with me and then I'll share it. What do you call it? And then I'll go with the question for Russ. Just bear with me, guys. I don't want to play volume with the commercial. So it's 16 seconds, 15. And then I'll play the video. So we're down to 10. This video link is coming from Good Morning America. It was posted July 7th, 2028. It's a body of missing 18-year-old found in Mississippi. All right, here we go. Hold on, I'm gonna share it now. Let's go here. Go here. All right. So let me get the volume up. The volume's up. Here we go. This is 1 minute 44.
This morning, the desperate search for answers in Mississippi after the death of 18-year-old Nolan Wells, authorities recovering a body believed to be the teen. Investigators and volunteers from the Cajun Navy spent the weekend urgently searching for Wells after he vanished from Horn Island on July 4th.
Nolan Wells was on a boat. He left from a private dock area in the Ocean Springs area and proceeded with his friends to Horn Island.
Wells was visiting the barrier island 10 miles from the Gulf Coast, boating with friends, last seen about 3 p.m. Saturday.
They left and went back without Nolan. From what we understand, he chose to stay there.
Later that night, when he didn't return home, his mother reporting him missing to police, then quickly taking to social media, posting pictures of the teen, pleading for help finding him. The heartbreaking discovery made about 8:45 Monday morning when authorities say the Mississippi Community College wide receiver's suspected body was found in the water just off the shore. His mother writing, "His father, our family, friends, and I are absolutely devastated," describing Wells as a sweet son who was always willing to cheer and uplift others. Now, investigators say they suspect he drowned, but they're still interviewing friends who were with him as they work to pinpoint what exactly happened.
That's why we're still asking for information if anybody has anything, any knowledge.
And that information, the sheriff says, will help them paint a better picture of what happened to Nolan in the moments before his death. A toxicology report from the coroner's office is still pending. Guys?
That situation.
We are definitely thinking of Nolan's family and just hoping that they'll get the answers that they desperately are searching for. Alex, thank you for being on this for us.
Just wish people will be careful because sometimes what they're searching for may not be the answer they want. Okay, so I just want to show you guys one more thing before we get into the first question. This is the Facebook page of Christine Wansley, and she did note that there's a GoFundMe page that's been posted right here. GoFundMe updates. I have taken over the GoFundMe account for my son Nolan Wells at the recommendation of my legal. I believe there were some concerns about was this one with the fake GoFundMe accounts? But this is, please report this video. This video is not created by me, my husband, family, or legal team. The video is AI generated. Yeah, I know there's concerns about fake videos being tossed out there. 2 pieces of my heart gone. Hugs, grandma, and then that's him. So if you guys get a chance, this is her page. Let me show you the GoFundMe page real quick. GoFundMe update. Where's the GoFundMe page? Is it here? Yeah, it's here. You see it, Russ, right here where it says by United Cajun Navy?
Yeah.
All right, and it's organized by Leah Dennis, 96%. We received many messages asking how to help Nolan. And there's a little picture of the GoFundMe page, and that's where you can donate. And this is did you get the click, Russ? Can you see the GoFundMe? Can you see the GoFundMe page?
Yeah.
So look, Russ, it raised $346,000. It's almost near the $350,000 mark. So hopefully it hits it. Our hearts are broken and broken behind words. If you guys get a chance, I would go visit it. Let me see. Yeah, this is the right one. And that's the family photo. And let me get rid of this now real quick. So, Russ, the first question I got, let me get us into that first question, is given Nolan's age, his football future, the Monday tryout, and his close relationship with his family, how believable is it to you that he would casually choose to stay behind on an uninhabited island with no phone and no guaranteed way home? Now, remember, guys, we're going to be telling a story progressively, but what's your thoughts on that question, Russ?
So I don't know. I think that that question, I don't know that the island is necessarily uninhabited. I mean, it seemed like, that was someplace that were going for a party spot. There's any number of things, that could have drew him to that. I think that, many times, when media types are dreaming up these questions, they're trying to lead you to a presupposed answer and try and make you think that, oh, this is completely out of character, or there's absolutely no reason that he would stay there. And to my way of thinking, that, while it hasn't been answered, is also not, necessarily the case. You have to look at, the totality of everything that was going on. There were people out there that were boating. There were people out there that were partying. There were people that they were having some kind of interaction with on that island. And so I kind of, don't necessarily buy the way the media, couches specific things like that. I don't think that it's probably out of character for a young man to want to stay behind and, talk to some new friends or whatever else was going on. So that's just kind of the way that I look at it.
Yeah, and I want to mention something too. Every time we cover these stories and something could lead to, let's say, an accident, or even if it's from careless behavior, especially if it's careless behavior, or something that's self-injurious, people always talk about who the person was, that they would never do this. And we really don't know. I just want people to know that, because I've covered a lot of cases where the family will have a perspective, and people are afraid to tell the family, hey, by the way, that may not be the case. And I think law enforcement even does, an exhausted effort just to ensure before they go out and say, hey, this was an accident, a careless accident, self-injurious behavior, whatever it is. But I just want people to know that all because you have someone who on the surface may appear to be this perfect image, we really don't know what's going on the inside. Not saying that this is self-injurious, or we really don't know, like, if he's someone that likes to party. And I will also mention, people are like, well, all the stuff that he could risk, he had a life ahead of him. Yeah, I get it, but he's also young. Young people are they do impulsive things. Sometimes people that are known to be great at certain things, let's say in this case, sports, sometimes they wind up just thinking that they're untouchable, thinking that nothing can happen to them. They start to feed in the hype. And next thing you know, you see people that, you wouldn't think would do foolish things, but they wind up doing foolish things because they feel that they just can't be hurt. And again, I'm not saying that's the case here, but I just want to get people's thoughts that sometimes, even with the media, they could paint this perfect image so they can have a story, a sensational story. Let's paint this perfect image, and then we can compare and contrast, because obviously people that could hurt themselves, or people that, let's say in this case here, could be accidental, maybe doing something careless, and wind up losing his life because he did something careless, would not normally fit this picture. We usually expect those type of people to be the downtrodden and whatever it is. No, I mean, me and Russ have been in the business long enough to know that, good people do foolish things. Sad to say, but it's true. I'm not saying that's the case here, but
or they overestimate their own physical prowess.
That's what I meant to say. Perfectly said. That's what I was getting at. I think you caught up on that. That's exactly what I was trying to get at, where basically they believe their own hype. So I want to talk a little bit about Horn Island. So Horn Island is a narrow, roughly 12-mile long, uninhabited, because it does say that in the, I guess because nobody lives there, maybe, barrier island in the Gulf of Mexico, located about 10 miles off the Mississippi Gulf Coast. It's part of the federally protected Gulf Islands National Seashore, managed by the National Park Service. The island has no permanent structures, no fresh water, no bathrooms or services, and no roads. It is accessible only by boat. On holidays, particularly the 4th of July, Horn Island becomes a major boating and partying destination. Hundreds of boats and thousands of people typically anchor off its beaches to swim, drink, and hang out along the shore. July 4th, 2026 was no exception. By all reports, the island and surrounding waters were heavily crowded. The northwest tip of Horn Island, the specific area where Nolan was last seen and where his body was recovered, is known among locals and regular visitors for dangerous water movements, strong tidal currents, shifting sandbars, and channel flows that can create powerful rip currents and undertows. Local safety guidance shared by experienced boaters and residents especially warns people, do not swim at the tips of the island or cuts. Do not go into the water alone, and do not swim while under the influence. These warnings are grounded in real-world experience. Gulf Barrier Island tips are known risk zones for drownings, especially when alcohol and crowds are involved. Because Horn Island is federal property inside a national park, any death or potential crime there triggers a layered jurisdiction. So you have agencies involved, include the Jackson County Sheriff's Office, that's the local lead, the U.S. Coast Guard, the National Park Service or Gulf Island National Seashore, the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources, the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, the Fisheries and Parks, local fire department and sheriff's offices from surrounding counties, and volunteer organizations such as the United Cajun Navy. All these entities played some role in the search, recovery, or ongoing investigation. I got two videos I want to show here that I think we'll find interesting. One is a news report that covers a little bit about this island. I would have done this if I was news too, just to see how dangerous this island is, because, I mean, before we jump into all these racial motivations, what they're not saying right now is how dangerous this island is. So let me show you this video first. All right, you guys can see it, right?
While we wait for official autopsy results, Jackson County officials say as of now there is no indication of foul play. However, Wells' family doesn't believe someone with his athletic ability could get caught in the water. I took the trip to Horn Island today and spoke to someone who's familiar with the area to learn about the potential risk of getting in the water. Hundreds, even thousands of families a year find their way out here on Horn Island, just enjoying its beauty and having a wonderful summer day, making the most of it. For lots of people, it feels like a second home. And with that second home comes security. But just because we feel secure doesn't mean danger is not around the corner. A trip out to the island on a hot day is enticing, but the cool water that draws us out is not always so peaceful.
Yeah, there's always the risk of the current, especially towards the very tip of the island, probably the last 500 yards or more of the island. That current can rip really fast through there. And
Chris Barlow is very familiar with the waters around Horn Island. He was born and raised in Ocean Springs, and for the past 10 years has been the captain of a charter boat. Over the years, he's gotten used to potentially hazardous water, but when he goes, he does not drop his guard.
you know, you might be in 3 foot of water and swim out a little bit or walk out, and as soon as it drops off, that current will take you. It's happened to me, it's happened to friends, and we're always watching for the kids out there and everything else, but that current can be strong.
On top of the current and steep drop-off is boat traffic. Boaters riding by the island can send waves all the way to the shore, and in the case of July 4th, Barlow recalls an impressive amount of vessels.
There was boats side by side for a long distance on the north and south side of the island, but there was boats at some point 5-10 deep side by side, but guesstimating there was probably somewhere between 500 and 800 boats. And you got to think every boat's going to have 5 to 10 people on it, so there could have been 4,000 to 8,000 people there, just guessing, you know.
Each of these factors on its own can make water difficult to traverse, but all of them together can create a serious threat. According to Ben Crump, the results from the independent autopsy are expected to be back by Friday.
Now, remember, guys, some of these videos I'm using are a couple of days old, so I'll give you all the updates as we go across. I got one more video, and then I got a question for you, Russ. I want to show this video. This video here was posted a year ago. Let me just see. I believe it's a year ago, over a year ago, right? Over a year ago. Okay, so let me show you this one video here. It relates to the danger. This is a year old. It's not about Nolan Wells, but there is a relationship here. This one's about 40 seconds.
two boaters. This morning, the Coast Guard rescued two boaters after they became separated from their vessel near Horn Island, Mississippi on Monday. Members of the Coast Guard received a call around 10 o'clock that morning about a 14-foot aluminum vessel with camouflage exterior adrift in the Horn Island area. A small boat crew went out to search for the vessel. They later found out that the vessel owner and a friend were left stranded on Horn Island overnight. Now take a look at this video. A helicopter went off to find the boaters. When rescue crews found them, they landed on the beach and helped the two people onto the helicopter and took them to Gulfport Biloxi International Airport.
So, hey, Russ, given the remoteness of Horn Island and the known risk at the northwest tip, does this setting feel more consistent with the tragic accident, or does it look exactly the kind of place where a confrontation or bad decision could easily turn deadly?
So, if we just look at it from, the evidence that we know so far, it seems like it's the former. I think that, people are attaching so much to this so early on, and they're getting carried away with, some ideas that at this point in time have no basis in fact. Regrettably, at places where, parties and boatings are going on year after year after year, there's all kinds of tragic things that happen. People are run over by boats, people drown, people fall in the water, people hit their heads. And so I think that, right now, the media is doing what the media does best, and they are pumping things up. And in my own personal assessment, I think that the family at this point is being victimized by an attorney that's been known to, pump things up, if you will.
I agree with you. I'm going to show you some interviews with him too, Crump. But I want to mention something too, guys. We always have to take into account that the people right now that are telling the story of Nolan Wells is going to be the investigators on scene. And again, this is a layered response. As you could tell, there's multiple people responsible or have oversight of this area. And this is Nolan's story. This evidence is left behind is Nolan's story. And their job is to interpret that evidence. And what happens here is when we start to sensationalize, as I mentioned in other videos, the truth of what really happened has to go against this belief of whatever narrative people are trying to sell. And remember, I know some people may argue this perspective, but a lot of this stuff is motivated through civil lawsuits, which requires just a little bit. All you got to do is just have a little bit of an argument in the other direction. It doesn't even have to be something major, just something that causes a little bit of doubt. And next thing you know, there's a chance to open up this lawsuit, this can of worms, when actually you could just have somebody that could have been intoxicated. Because here's the thing. I just want to mention the thing. When law enforcement investigation comes on scene, they see everything. And the environment, everything is going to tell a story for them. And most likely, when they see something, they have an idea of what happened. It's not solidified, but they have an idea. And then when the autopsy comes back, in this case, that I know we're waiting for the toxicology and stuff, but you do have the officers that said at this point, there's no suggestions of foul play. And people are like, well, they're jumping the gun. They're not saying that there can't be. What they're saying is from their initial view of what happened. It's not a final judgment on their end, just an initial view that we saw where he was discovered. We saw what was around him. And at this point, we don't have a reason to believe that there was foul play. But again, be patient. You never know. And again, you have the context of an environment where there was a party happening. So maybe when they get the toxicology, it could show up that there was high alcohol levels. I mean, we don't know. And I'm not trying to say bastardize the victim here, but before we start pointing the finger at all his friends and destroying their reputations because we want to create a narrative, we have to realize we could have someone right here that could have just, like young kids do, drink a little too much, we don't know, and did something a little foolish. And I would have to ask, if Nolan was alive today, would he want his friends to be treated like this? Are we doing what is in best for what Nolan would want? That's all I'm asking. I think that's a fair question. Now, I do have the timeline of events. So bear with me on this. So departure from the mainland. Nolan leaves from a private dock area in or near Ocean Springs, St. Martin, Gulf Hills on a boat with a group of friends. Media reports, not official police this is not from police documents, from media. Identity of the companions as included Warren Hudson, Eli Jax Pitalo, Eric Alcantara, Wyatt Pyron, and Morgan Seymour. We have to mention this because the media is saying this. All of them white, with Nolan the only black person in the group. Nolan's best friend, 17-year-old Javon Williams, was supposed to be on that same boat, but it filled up before he could board. Javon ends up traveling to Horn Island later on a separate boat. I want to show you a link. This will kind of give you a physical view of the timeline. So bear with me, guys, because there's a commercial. I'm just getting through the commercial. All right, this is about a minute long, this video. Let me go ahead and share this one out, and then I'll read you the rest of the timeline. Then I got a question for you, Russ. All right, so can you see the video, Russ?
Yep.
Here we go.
We're developing a timeline of events after 18-year-old Nolan Wells disappeared off the coast of Mississippi. Authorities say Wells traveled to Horn Island with a group of friends to celebrate the 4th of July. Jackson County Sheriff John Ledbetter says that Wells decided to stay on the island even though his friends left on a boat. He was last seen at 3 p.m. The Coast Guard says it got a call to help with a search at 12:26 Sunday afternoon. It was an effort that involved multiple agencies, lasting until the next morning. Around 8:45 a.m. is when the sheriff says a body was found near the island. Wells' family confirmed it was Wells a few hours later. The coroner still needs to officially identify the body, and Sheriff Ledbetter says he has a request for the public.
Number one, give the family space and time. They are still processing this tragic event, and all of Nolan's close friends. I'll assure you that the Jackson County Sheriff's Office, we're looking at this whole case just like we would any other case, and we're going to be as thorough as we can.
Wells played football at Ocean Springs High and Southwest Mississippi Community College. Anyone with information about his disappearance is asked to call the Jackson County Sheriff's Office. We're developing a timeline.
Remember, guys, some of these videos are a bit dated, so I'll keep us up to date. You notice that the sheriff, real quick, Russ, before I go into the timeline, says we're looking at this case as serious as we're looking at other cases. So I don't know if that's related to maybe him trying to kind of get ahead of what people could say are, not doing the same thing because he is a black individual. I don't know if that's why he's saying that, or if he's saying that because he believes that maybe it's accidental, or maybe I don't think it's self-injurious or purposeful behavior, but maybe accidental. And he wants people to know that even if they think it's accidental, we're going to exhaust. We're going to do interviews. We're going to just cover the route so we can ensure we give you a proper effort. So when we make the determination, you guys are okay with it. Because I felt that he added that. What do you think he added that for?
I think he's just, covering all the bases. Right now, the way it looks is that, this is probably most likely an accident. It may be an accident born completely of the actions of Nolan Wells. He may have decided to swim. He may have decided to do something else that was outside the bounds of his realistic capabilities. Or it could have been an accident born of some decisions he made, but there could have been a boat or something else involved. We don't know. Right now, getting lawyers involved at this point without knowing anything. I'll get back to what I said earlier. Is I think the family is being taken advantage of by Ben Crump, and that's the way that I view it. I don't think that, and Crump is, he is an ambulance chaser, pure and simple.
Yep, and I saw the same type of thing with Busby when he was the lawyer for Breonna Aguilera. So all right, so guys, bear with me. This is the timeline. So 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock p.m. is the last confirmed sightings on the island. So Nolan is on the northwest tip of Horn Island at or near the waterline. United Cajun Navy Incident Commander Josh Gill later says Nolan was last seen hanging out with a girl on the north end of the island, a young woman who has not been publicly identified and is often referred to online simply as Katie. When Javon's boat reaches Horn Island, because he was the one that went later on, he sees Nolan on the beach. Javon says Nolan looked him in the eyes and told him he loved him, something Javon says he had never heard from Nolan before. He describes Nolan as on the beach, hanging out and talking to a girl and others. Warren Hudson, through his mother's later public statement, says he last saw Nolan at about 3 o'clock p.m. The exact times differ slightly between accounts, but all place Nolan in that northwest tip area in the middle of the afternoon. And the date on this is July 4th. 4 o'clock to 4:01 p.m., there's a viral video. And I'm going to show you a little bit of this, but I want you to know this hasn't been confirmed, but police are interested in it. I'll show you it in a few minutes. A video where they believe it's a confrontation. I'm going to also show you where I'm getting that video from as well, because it's not coming from a news outlet. But when I looked into it, police are looking into this video. So I said, you know what? Let's cover it. So a short video was recorded at approximately 4:01 p.m. at or near the northwest tip of Horn Island. The clip shows a group of people gathered near the shoreline. Audio reportedly captures raised voices and what sounds like a tense confrontation. The person who later posted video on Facebook writes that they were parked next to the boat Nolan was allegedly on, that the video was filmed immediately after the big fight that broke out up on the shore, and that they are not sure whether Nolan is visible in the clip, but they hope it helps. Law enforcement has not publicly confirmed who's in the video or exactly what it depicts. They have only said they are reviewing viral confrontation footage from that area and asking for original unedited versions from anyone who was there. Separately, Ben Crump has claimed that there was an altercation involving Nolan on the boat themselves and that students recorded that as well. As I said, that has not been confirmed yet. That description, Nolan and someone else yelling at each other on a boat, is coming from Crump and the family side. Investigators have not yet publicly verified a specific boat fight on the record. What is confirmed is that at least one confrontation video from the vicinity exists and is under review, which is under review. So basically who is in which clip is still being sorted out. I just want to remind the audience before I play this clip, investigators have not officially identified who's in this clip or how directly it ties into Nolan's death. And Crump's additional description of a boat confrontation is, at this stage, his account of what family and students have reported to him. So let me play this video real quick. Hold on, let me mute that. It's a commercial first. Hold on. So let me just tell you where this is coming from. I'm only going to borrow a piece of this. I'm not going to play the whole thing. This video's 15 minutes. If you guys have an interest in seeing this video, I'll show you exactly where to get it from. Just bear with me. So I don't think this is the person who runs this channel, but the name of this channel is Gertie Mack. They got about 22,000 something subscribers. This video is doing very well for them, so I don't want to steal his traffic. So again, if you guys get a chance, if you want to check out this video, check out this video. It's already at 276,000 views. But I want to show you this part. Russ, can you see the video at all or no?
Yeah.
I want to show you just this segment. There's other things that this gentleman talks about here, but me and Russ, when we do stuff, we go with the evidence that's in front of us. So that's from law enforcement or some certified source. So bear with me, though, because we do have to mention this.
He was with.
In the comments, everybody does talk about this confrontation, so I felt we should mention it. All right, so bear with me. And again, guys, Gertie Mack, that's the channel.
Good time. Like I say, Nolan will love. He came from a two-parent home, had his mother and his father right there by his side. And just a day of just going out to have fun with his friends, led to this tragedy hitting his family. Now, This is Nolan right here with his friends on the boat. Allegedly, I think this is them heading to Horn Island. Now, there's a lot of stuff coming out, and I said we was going to talk about it, so let's get into it. Now, allegedly, there was a confrontation. Not sure exactly if Nolan Wells was involved in that confrontation, but there are some people on the internet that is saying that the group that he was with had a confrontation within the group. And now, as you can see right here in this picture, I'm going to play a video, but this is a still shot from the confrontation that someone filmed, and you can actually hear someone get into it. And they're trying to say allegedly it was the group that Nolan was with, and this is Nolan right here. Now, shout out to Anna C. Moore for the video. We're going to play this video. You got to listen real close. You're going to hear individuals having a confrontation, arguing in the background during this time. So if you listen closely to the video, you can hear some individuals arguing in the background, and they pretty upset. And that's what people are saying, that that group is the group that Nolan Wells was with. Now, if this turned out to be true, some facts, that the group he was with was having a confrontation and maybe he was involved, who knows, then that's going to raise some eyebrows about him coming up missing and his friends going back and Nolan not coming back with them. Now,
sorry, I just want to show that part of the video. I don't want to get a strike, but to be honest with you, I can't make out anything in that video, Russ. I mean,
well, it's business for clicks. There's nothing in that indicates anything to me. There were some raised voices, and that's it. Whoever was operating the camera wasn't cognizant of anything going on at that time. Otherwise, they would have, zoomed in and, got a hold of what was going on. So this is kind of ridiculous. The sheriff's department will undoubtedly, question some people and see if they can, get a lead that indicates something like that was or was not going on. But, right now, this is just the thinnest of ideas. And I'm not saying that something won't be borne out, but boy, the internet just grabs things and runs with them. And this is more likely a case of that than of any other thing.
Yeah, and guys, we're not saying, it could be something, we don't know, but I'll be honest with you. I wish that they would just wait for some confirmation before they start putting it out there, because right now they're doing whatever they can to have some level of confirmation bias. Let's get our story. Let's look for things. They're only looking for things that relate to what could be him being killed by his friends. Here we are. We covered another angle, right? We covered the dangers of what's out there. We covered that people that get intoxicated. And by the way, when Javon said that Nolan doesn't usually say, "I love you," I don't know. Is this a party where people drink at? Do we have a lot of underage drinking happening? And I know a lot of people that get drunk, they start loving everyone. I'm not, again, got to put it out there. They're partying. The context of partying for young kids would be what? So I don't want to say, oh, Nolan wasn't that kid. Okay, then we'll wait for the toxicology. Maybe I'm wrong. But right now, I think the context here is they went out to party, and I think some people would agree that there could be some drinking going on. And I would love, after this is all done, if maybe law enforcement does some investigations here, because we got a lot of underage drinking probably that's happening here. Who's monitoring these parties? That would be a great question, in my opinion. So if something comes to light for this, why don't we get some eyes on what happens on Horn Island? Okay, so let's go to 4:30 right now. According to Chancery Judge Ashley Cole, mother of Nolan's friend, Warren Hudson, the boat Nolan came on developed a mechanical issue. It was taking on water and had a bilge pump problem. In her written statement, Cole says they left around 4:30 p.m. because of this mechanical issue, and that Nolan made a decision to stay on the island and return inland later with another group of friends. That is her account of what Nolan decided to do. Jackson County Sheriff John Ledbetter has repeated that same version publicly. In his words, based on the statements he has received, they left and went back without Nolan. From what we understand, he chose to stay there. In other words, the entire "he chose to stay" narrative comes from what Nolan's friends and their families told investigators. There is no independent recording of Nolan saying that himself, no text from Nolan saying he wanted to stay, and no on-the-record third-party witness, quote, confirming it. Just being fair. Attorney Ben Crump, speaking for the family, directly challenged the plausibility of that story. He said Nolan's family finds it very improbable that Nolan would choose to stay on a remote, uninhabited island with no phone and no confirmed ride when he had a major football tryout scheduled for Monday morning. Crump also says Nolan's friends took his cell phone back to the mainland with them when they left, meaning Nolan was left on Horn Island without his phone, not just without a boat. According to Crump and the family, when they later got that phone back, they saw that some of Nolan's messages have been deleted, and we'll cover that in a little bit, and they want to know who deleted them and why. So to be crystal clear, the official story from the friend's side and the sheriff is that Nolan chose to stay, while the family side, through their attorney, is that this is extremely hard to accept. Hard to accept doesn't mean it's not true, but hard to accept because it leads to a narrative that they may not want. So I want you guys to be wary of that, especially when the group left with his phone and his family says messages were missing when it was returned. Josh Gill of the United Cajun Navy adds that to his knowledge, none of Nolan's friends stayed behind with him or waited to see him physically get onto another vessel. So the companion group story is that he volunteered to stay. The family's question is how that makes sense given his future plans, and why his phone went home without him, with messages allegedly deleted in the process. Now, that evening, Nolan fails to return home. So Nolan does not come home that night. None of his friends who were with him call his mother to say he stayed behind or to check whether he got home. His mother, Christine Wansley, becomes increasingly alarmed when he still hasn't returned and is not reachable. Midnight. Now they do a missing person report. Around midnight, Christine contacts the Jackson County Sheriff's Office and reports Nolan as a missing person. She also begins posting on social media, sharing photos of her son and pleading for help in locating him. Now, Russ, I got a question for you. Looking just at July 4th, the last sightings, the reported altercation, if that's true, the mechanical issue on the boat, the friends leaving, and the phone going home without Nolan, what is the single most troubling piece of this day to you?
So it's not about the cell phone. Oh my gosh, they're sitting here and they're talking about, okay, well, there were messages that were deleted and why did he give him the phone? Okay, so let's just talk about what's plausible here. If you're out there and you're not getting any cell service anyway, and nothing is syncing or syncing, S-Y-N, not S-I-N-K, then you have the potential to look like there's dropped messages or someone might suspect that something was done. If your cell phone, if you don't have a way to charge it and you're out there, you might want to give it to your friends to take it home or whatever. Horn Island is notorious for not having good cell phone service. So, there's, people are reading into things and wanting to be smarter than they actually are, saying that this is outside the bounds of what a person would do. But how many of these people that are thinking that way spend much time in areas that are outside of cell service? So I don't attach any real significance to that at all. And we don't know. Is he the kind of person who deletes his messages, often or sometimes, or was this not messages that were deleted, but messages that weren't properly synced because they were out of range? So, people go off half-cocked on things all the time. That's why we wait for better evidence to come in. And this is why I assume in all cases that the media, the internet, and people in general are pushing things and talking about things in order to talk, not to gain clarity, but to talk and to push their particular view.
Yeah, and guys, I want to add something too. He could have just left his cell phone on the boat. I mean, I'm just curious. I mean, he could have left the cell phone on the boat. The friends could have forgot that it was on the boat and then took it when they returned. And I would say if he met a girl and he was looking to hook up with the girl, I could see his friend saying, you know what, he's going to get a little something, whatever it is. Let's go back. Let him do his thing. And I could clearly see why they may not want to call his family on that because he's hooking up. Plus, he's at a party right now. Who knows? You know, if he's wasted, we don't know that. And the funny thing is, out of curiosity, maybe these families should also check what goes on Horn Island. I'm just curious. I mean, we could be totally wrong about drinking and all this other stuff. It could be totally wrong, but they're partying. There's could be thousands of people there. I mean, we have to make the assumption. Would you agree with that, Russ?
Yeah, I think that, that's a fair inference. If I may read something here real quick. Horn Island, located roughly 10 miles off the Mississippi Gulf Coast as part of the Gulf Islands National Seashore, is known as a pristine and remote wilderness area. As a result, there are no cell towers on the island. Visitors should expect little to no cell service across most of Horn Island for all major carriers, including AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. While you might occasionally pick up a weak fluctuating signal from mainland towers when close to the northern shore, reliable reception cannot be counted on. If you are planning an excursion to Horn Island, it is highly recommended to bring a marine VHF radio to communicate with the mainland or other boaters, as you cannot rely on a cell phone for emergencies. Boom.
Hey, Russ, I want to ask you a question too. You kind of mentioned something. What could make a message look deleted? Because well, first off,
I'm not saying that I know for sure, but if you try and send a message and it doesn't get sent, then what do you generally do with it? I know what I do with it is I delete it or I try and send it again.
Yeah,
so
smart. I do that.
So there's a number of things, and I'll just say that the people that are talking about this are people, and believe me, I'm not a digital forensic expert by any means, but what I can tell you is that they may not be looking at what really happened with regards to some or all of the messages that they're discussing. Now, the sheriff's department will have the necessary equipment to clone that phone and find anything that's in it. That's something that we have to wait on, but we may not have to wait on that. We may just be able to get immediately to whatever the autopsy says. We may see that if he was drowned, if he was hit, if he was struck, if he was shot, if he was stabbed, if he was strangled, or anything like that. And then we will probably know at least some version of the truth.
I have a crazy assumption. I mean, could it be that his friends knew he was hooking up with somebody? I don't know if Nolan has any girlfriends. I don't know. Or if he doesn't want his family knowing. And then maybe there were some texts from his friends about him hooking up with the girl that he didn't want that, well, no, because then who would have deleted it? Never mind. Don't worry about my assumption. Because well, wait a second. It doesn't say when they were deleted. It doesn't. That's another. So let's just go with that fact. They had deleted texts, right? So it doesn't say when the texts were. It's very not specific. So you know what? I'm going to leave that open because, okay, he got deleted texts. When were they deleted? Who were the texts to, or who were the texts from? I mean, okay, so he has deleted texts. Who deleted them, right? I guess, but I think that's very vague right now because, as we said, when were those texts sent? I have deleted texts in my phone right now. So let's do that. Let's keep that one open. July 5th, search and rescue, Coast Guard activated. So at 12:26 p.m. on July 5th, the U.S. Coast Guard Sector Mobile receives a request for assistance from the Jackson County Sheriff's Office. An urgent marine information broadcast is issued, and a helicopter along with surface assets are deployed to search around Horn Island and the adjacent waters. 12:31 p.m., first official media release. The Jackson County Sheriff's Office issues its first press release. Nolan is described as an 18-year-old black male, 6'1", about 180 pounds, last seen on Horn Island, wearing blue swim trunks, no shirt, and sunglasses. An earlier version mentions black trunks. Later information clarified they were blue. 5:54 p.m. Command post established. A command post is established at the Lake Mars boat launch in Ocean Springs to coordinate search operations. Then in the evening, you have a multi-agency search intensifies. Multiple agencies formally join the search efforts. The Jackson County Sheriff's Office, U.S. Coast Guard National Park Service, Gulf Island National Seashore, Mississippi Department of Marine Resources, Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries and Parks, Biloxi Fire Department, Harrison County Sheriff's Office, Jackson County Fire Service, and the United Cajun Navy. Boats, aircrafts, and ground teams search both the island and surrounding waters. During this time, Nolan's phone, which had been taken back to the mainland by his companions, is located via tracking and returned to the family. Nolan himself is not found anywhere associated with the phone's location. I have a link here. I got two links here, but one is like 8 seconds. Let me show you this link first. Let's see. Hold on, guys. It's going through a commercial. Yeah, guys, with the cell phone, I really don't think at this point there's enough to really focus on that just yet because, okay, we got text messages that are deleted, but we don't know when they were ever sent out. Hold on one second. I mean, it could be something that may have to be revisited. That's fair. All right, let me share this. This is about 2 minutes. It's from Good Morning America. Here we go.
Now, the urgent investigation after a Mississippi teenager was found dead. Officials say Nolan Wells vanished after taking a boat trip with friends on July 4th. Alex Perez has the latest for us. Good morning, Alex.
Hey, good morning, Robin. The 4th of July celebration turned to tragedy for the family of Nolan Wells, and now they're hoping authorities will be able to pinpoint what exactly happened to him. This morning, the desperate search for answers in Mississippi after the death of 18-year-old Nolan Wells, authorities recovering a body believed to be the teen. Investigators and volunteers from the Cajun Navy spent the weekend urgently searching for Wells after he vanished from Horn Island on July 4th.
Nolan Wells was on a boat. He left from a private dock area in the Ocean Springs area and proceeded with his friends to Horn Island.
Wells was visiting the barrier island 10 miles from the Gulf Coast, boating with friends, last seen about 3 p.m. Saturday.
They left and went back without Nolan. From what we understand, he chose to stay there.
Later that night, when he didn't return home, his mother reporting him missing to police, then quickly taking to social media, posting pictures of the teen, pleading for help finding him. The heartbreaking discovery made about 8:45 Monday morning when authorities say the Mississippi Community College wide receiver's suspected body was found in the water just off the shore. His mother writing, "His father, our family, friends, and I are absolutely devastated," describing Wells as a sweet son who was always willing to cheer and uplift others. Now, investigators say they suspect he drowned, but they're still interviewing friends who were with him as they work to pinpoint what exactly happened.
That's why we're still asking for information if anybody has anything, any knowledge.
And that information, the sheriff says, will help them paint a better picture of what happened to Nolan in the moments before his death. A toxicology report from the coroner's office is still pending. Guys?
Yeah, sad situation.
We are definitely thinking of Nolan's family and just hoping that they'll get the answers that they desperately are searching for. Alex, thank you for being on this for us.
Want to show you this video from, it was on Fox, but it's Cajun Navy. It's about 8 seconds, but this is them. Well, hold on. Let me get rid of this commercial first. Damn it. Hold on. These damn commercials. Oh, no, there's no commercial. All right, hold on. Let me send you this. Bear with me. I'm going to share it now. This is just 8 seconds, but Russ, can you see the video?
Yeah.
Oh my God, man. What the hell? Just them going over the water. All right, Russ, I got a question just about the response. From search and rescue and command post perspective, do you see anything in the timing or scale of the response that raises red flags about how aggressively Nolan's disappearance was treated. Hey, Russ, out of curiosity, I don't know if you'll be able to answer this, but why did they set the command post up at Mars boat launch? Why not on Horn Island?
Because infrastructure. They're going to want access to cell phones. They're going to want access to their data entry points. They're going to want access to all of the different dispatch stuff, because their dispatch center is going to be the one that they're going to go through, where they're going to be able to ask for resources and stuff. You set it up too close to the point that you're searching, and Horn Island doesn't have any infrastructure, and you're going to have people that are going to need to go to the bathroom or go home or come back or go take a shower, all of those things.
And do you think it was a good response?
I think it was a great response, and man, I'll tell you what, I love the Cajun Navy guys. They're always showing up for something. It may not be in force. They're a great outfit, and then all the other thing. I mean, the Coast Guard got a helicopter up there without even having, a really good area to search other than the coastline of Horn Island itself. And, they had boats out there, and there were plenty of volunteers to go around. So I think it was more than adequate. And I think the thing that speaks to the most there is they found him.
Yeah, and I'm assuming I think they found him near the tip. Right? Well, we'll get to it. I have it. Hold on, let me get to that. All right, bear with me. So let's go Monday, July 6th, body recovered. So at 6 a.m., volunteer air search. At first light, kind of video we saw. United Cajun Navy aircraft go up again to search from the air around Horn Island and the surrounding Gulf waters. 8:40 to 8:45 a.m., body discovered. A National Park Service ranger spots a body floating in the water off the northwest tip of Horn Island, close to the area where Nolan was last seen. Sheriff John Ledbetter confirms that the body matches Nolan's description, though formal identification is still pending. Hey, Russ, out of curiosity, I know you're really good with this. You think you could show us a map of where they found him?
Yeah, absolutely. I have it right here. Hold on.
I know we could share. While you do that, I'll read the rest of this real quick while you set it up. At 11 a.m., family taken to coroner. Nolan's family, including his father, Elmore Wonsley, is transported to the Jackson County Coroner's Office in Pascagoula to view the body and assist with identification. And just before 1 p.m., Christine confirms on Facebook, that's the mother. Shortly before 1 p.m., Christine posts on Facebook confirming that the body found is her son. She writes that the family is absolutely devastated and calls Nolan a special soul that God took time creating. A special soul God took time creating. The United Cajun Navy announces that it is ending active search operations following the recovery of the body. And then you have the GoFundMe launches. So a GoFundMe titled In Love and Memory of Nolan Xavier Wells, which I showed you guys, organized by Alia Dennis, is launched to support the family. Christine later confirms that this is the only legitimate fundraiser. Several fraudulent or unauthorized campaigns appear online. She warns the public not to donate to those. The official GoFundMe quickly surpasses 100,000 and within days rises to 120 toward a stated goal of, well, now it's at 350, I think, or it's close to 350. I do have a question, Russ, but when you want to share that, and I want to go back to her Facebook page real quick. I want to see if I can find the post that she did when she noticed her when they found her son. Let's see. There she is. Hold on a second. So, guys, bear with us. Russ is going to do the map, and then I am going to look for her Facebook post on July 6th. Let's see. Let me go to the dates here. Out of curiosity, you know what I want to do real quick, if you don't mind, Russ? I want to see this video that she's talking about. That was was a made-up video. So this is the video she said is not real. This is coming from the mom, Christine. I just want to see this out of curiosity. So remember, guys, this is not real. This was AI.
This is an important
2026 family trip.
This is an important story.
This is one of those.
This is
His death was nothing short of a conspiracy.
That's not me, guys. That's the video she posted.
And I will not hold a funeral for my son, Nolan. His death was nothing short of a conspiracy, and I will not lay him to rest until I uncover the whole truth. Nolan went out with his friends to celebrate a birthday, yet somehow they sailed back on the boat alone, leaving my son stranded on the island and taking his phone with them. I know better than anyone that he was never a strong swimmer and would never venture out into those treacherous waters. Those friends had even taken photos with him during the trip, yet they claim they have no recollection of what happened to him. They left him lying in the frigid seawater for 2 full days and nights. Within barely a day of the incident, all of those teenagers' families hired lawyers to defend them. If they truly had nothing to hide, why were they so quick to panic? They must be covering something up. My son was gentle and kind to everyone around him. He could have grown up to be an outstanding football player, yet God took him from me far too soon. I have launched a fundraiser on GoFundMe. Aside from covering funeral costs, the money will go toward hiring lawyers and private investigators. I swear I will force them to reveal every last detail of the truth.
Hey, Russ, they AI'd her.
These people are sick.
Holy shit. I think they should do something. If that could be criminal charges, they AI'd her, the mom.
Yeah, this is the brave new world we live in.
All right, let me just show you that one last thing before we see yours. I want to see the post from July 6th. My mind is blown. The AI. So now there's probably people right now that actually believe that that's real.
Yeah, they may now be invested in believing that it's a conspiracy. Because once you hear something, people then start developing their own confirmation biases. I think that the family has clearly been victimized here, and not just with the GoFundMe thing, but I don't like the ambulance chaser dude, Ben Crump. But that's my own personal assessment of that individual's character or lack thereof.
Yeah. So. These are the pics from July 4th when I believe they were still looking for him. As you could see. Can you see this, Russ?
Yeah.
So that's pictures with him, with his friends. And of course, people are trying to say, well, he's the only black person in the pic among white people. And that became an issue, which if I was to, again, I'm just saying, if I was to make an accusation based on color, if I reversed this and said he was the only white person with black individuals, that would be completely racist. I mean, these are guys that are friends. They look to be, close friends. And then these are the posts that she did. His father, Elmore Wonsley, and I are not okay. We have so many questions. Our hearts are breaking. We keep waiting for Nolan to walk through the door with his beautiful smile and a joke, of course. We just pray for our son, praise our son alive and safe. So this is before.
Now this is the real mother, right?
Yes, the real mother. Yep. Now,
Okay.
This is before they found him, and now this post is when they found him. I want to thank our family, friends, community, United Cajun Navy, local law enforcement, everyone involved for all the love, support, resource over the last few days. His father, Elmore Wonsley, our family, friends, and I are absolutely devastated. My heart is broken for our sweet son who was always willing to cheer and uplift others. Nolan was a special soul. God took his time creating our son. I ask that you all please give me and my family privacy as we grieve. Excuse me. Hey, Russ, I'm going to share yours. Hold on. All right, here we go, Russ. Let me mute myself. I shared it, Russ, if you want to just kind of tell us.
Okay. So on this one, they said it was on the northwest tip. So looking at this and orienting it, if you look to the left side, that would be what I'm supposing is the northwest tip. I would guess that maybe the little section in the middle could also be considered that, but it's difficult because the orientation largely runs east and west here. But my guess is that it's that left-hand side with the little crook on it. And if you look at that on the tide surge and waves, that it shows. Of course, this is for May the 5th, so it's not germane to this particular incident. But I would guess, looking at that there's a lot of high tides and surge and waves on that portion of the island at all times when you just look at it there. So if he decided to swim out to a boat or to take a swim, he could have got into trouble very, very quickly.
All right, and thank you, Russ, for doing that. Let me remove this. That was good stuff. I think it's good to get a perspective. All right, so let me. I have a question here, Russ. Knowing that Nolan's body was recovered near where he was last seen in a high-risk current area, does that fact alone push you towards accepting an accidental drowning, or do the surrounding circumstances keep you from landing there? That's why I see accidental drowning at first.
Yeah, I think that it's what we have to actually go on right now would probably favor accidental drowning. When a body is found in the water, it's often drowning. There could be, other circumstances with regards to that. He could have fallen out of a boat. He could have suffered some trauma beforehand, but none of that is in evidence. The other thing, hanging over is, of course, going to be related to the toxicology. And young people sometimes make bad decisions and drink, and that's not throwing shade on him, but it does speak to decision-making process and the ability to deal with difficult swimming conditions. So regardless, the family has suffered a loss. Now they've been victimized by somebody putting up a fake GoFundMe, which angers me greatly. And, although I have, I don't want to say that I have any inside information other than I don't like attorneys like Ben Crump.
And guys, we could be wrong in our, but you have to at least take this into account before you start jumping and pointing blame at people. Because again, what would happen if we just decided to do that? And if the scenario was reversed and we started pointing blame an African American, we'd be considered racist. And why is that always the case? Because he's this. And it's really not fair. Let's get there's context here that says that this could be a concern. And people are like, well, that's not my son. He's at a party. There's pressures of the situation that get people to do foolish things.
Yeah. And, teenagers are notoriously, not fully honest. Let's just put that out there, with their parents. So, regardless, it's a tragedy. I think the big takeaways here are the ones that I always take away, unfortunately, is that I don't like the sensationalization of the media. I don't like people jumping to conclusions. I think that, this is, a good incident to look at with regards to, what your kids are out there doing. I would be concerned anytime my children were doing anything to do with the water. Water is a relentless force in nature. There's this spot not too far from where we're at, on a certain river that shall remain nameless, where there used to be, I hear less of it these days, there used to be multiple drownings. They used to average like one a week. And then, we have lots of, lakes and stuff around here. And there are huge risks associated with recreation and water. And that's just the truth of the matter. Everyone should be wearing a life vest. There's all kinds of, things, and people just don't. And teens tend to think of themselves as indestructible, and they're not.
Yeah, and guys, by the way, even if he was a great swimmer, if he's intoxicated, that limits the ability. And again, I think it's a safe assumption to make. Even if we're wrong, it's not an assumption meant to bastardize the individual. It's just the victim. It's an assumption that is logical. I think, to be honest with you, I would lean more towards that before we start attacking. who could be innocent people who could also be grieving. Now, let's go to Tuesday, July 7th, autopsy and attorney. So 2:00 p.m., identity confirmed by dental records. Jackson County Coroner Bruce Lynn confirms that the body recovered is Nolan's. The identification is made through dental records and corroborated by the state medical examiner's office. DNA testing is also performed to document the identification formally. The state autopsy is performed. An autopsy is conducted at the Mississippi State Medical Examiner's Coast Guard Laboratory. Officials say it may take a couple of weeks to finalize the full autopsy report and toxicology results. At this preliminary stage, they state there is no indication of drug or alcohol involvement, though they emphasize that full toxicology is still pending. Again, what's in the system? Based on what they see initially, investigators say they suspect drowning as the cause of death, but they stress the case remains under investigation. They do not yet announce an official cause and manner. So again, guys, so let's say that real quick, after reading this, maybe no drugs or alcohol, maybe that's the case. I mean, obviously you really don't know that until the toxicology, but that doesn't mean that he didn't do something and jump in the water or an accident happened. So we're leaning towards either a purposeful thing. It could either be a purposeful action, an accidental action, or an intoxicated action or under the influence type action. Sheriff Ledbetter tells media outlets that as of now, the sheriff's office has no information that would lead us to believe that a crime has occurred. He frames the case as an apparent drowning, pending further evidence and lab results. So the family does retain Ben Crump amid rising public concern and intense online scrutiny. The Wells family retains nationally known civil rights attorney Ben Crump. Crump announces that his team will conduct an independent review of the case, push for transparency and timely release of records and witness statements, and oversee or commission independent forensic analysis as needed. He signals that the family is not satisfied with simply accepting the early likely drowning framing without a deeper independent look at what happens to Nolan. By the way, I want you guys to know something. Transparency, I get it. But what I hate is when you're taking your time doing something because it requires that amount of time. And if you don't put out something right away, they fill the narrative in which causes doubt when the truth does come out. Law enforcement has to be patient. They have to wait. They can't speak. But then these lawyers start pushing things out to create doubt. Because at the end, I think what will wind up happening here is it won't even be about justice for Nolan, because justice is the truth. I want people to know that. Justice is the truth. And if it's not his friends, justice wouldn't be Nolan wanting to bastardize his friends, because that's not what Nolan would want. Nolan would want justice to be what the story is, the truth. And sadly, what will wind up happening during this moment is this will be about money. And then what will wind up happening is when they realize that maybe it is something accidental, they'll go after the system in their response, or they'll find something. I want to show you one of the interviews. I have two interviews with Ben Crump. Actually, Russ is moving pretty quick. We're almost done. So let me set up this other link. We get this video. Hey, Russ, it's unique because, real quick, without the toxicology, they really don't know if alcohol or something wasn't involved. So they're probably going by what's around him and probably through interviews, I'm thinking. How could they make that determination?
Make which determination?
I got here, it's listed from the news that they don't believe, that law enforcement doesn't believe there was alcohol or drugs. You don't really know that until toxicology comes back. So I'm assuming that's from interviews, maybe, or
maybe that's just always what they say. Prior to toxicology, they get to that earlier on DUIs when they have BAC or or a blood draw or bottles in the car, that kind of thing.
Yeah, because we still don't really know. Okay, so this is, either way, it still could push it as accident or him trying to think he could swim. We don't know. All right, so this is one of the first Ben Crump interview I got. So we'll play it out in its entirety. It's 4 minutes, I think. And then we'll have a reaction to it. And then he did one for TMZ, which was a bit shorter. So let me share this one. This touches on the deleted text messages. Hey, Russ, I just out of curiosity, do you think, I know we mentioned it before, but you think alcohol could be involved?
Well, I don't think that it's a foregone conclusion. I think it's, difficult to say. It certainly would play into the idea about, impaired judgment making and impaired ability to swim potentially. And so, that's one thing. They'll just have to wait on the toxicology for that, for sure.
All right, so let me play this one. We have two back-to-back ones here.
Reporting live from Ipers Club for iPlus News, I'm John Apple. Breaking news coming out of our coverage on the case of Nolan Wells, a young black man who would end up missing on a remote island with a group of friends in Mississippi, in which he would be found washed ashore 2 days later. At the center of the conversation lies what happened to the 18-year-old that day, in which this unanswered question has left many feeling that foul play is involved. Now, a part of those reasons for some is Wells appearing to be the only black friend amongst his group of all white friends that he traveled to the island with. While another reason is that there was a reported argument that took place on the island amongst those same friends and Nolan. Now, as mentioned, the family has hired civil rights attorney Benjamin Crump, who will now lead an independent investigation at autopsy. On Wednesday night, Crump would sit down with ABC News, where he would discuss his involvement with the case. And now, to the shock of viewers, would reveal that Wells' parents saw that messages were deleted out of his phone before it was returned to them by one of those friends.
What was going on with his cell phone?
Yeah, and that's something that's really troubling to his family as well. The guys on the boat, they said Nolan stayed, but they took his cell phone. That's not adding up to them. And when the family gets the cell phone back, Lindsay, they're saying they are trying to understand why they're deleted messages. Oh. And so
now, as mentioned, many have already started pointing fingers at Wells' group of friends whom he traveled to the island with, and their silence for some appears to be very suspicious. On Wednesday, the mother of one of the boys named Warren would finally speak after more and more people continued to accuse her son of being connected to Nolan's death, and even the concern with her being a judge. On her Facebook, Ashley Cole would say, "Our family, along with the community, grieves the loss of Nolan Wells. Our thoughts and prayers are with Nolan's family. Our son Warren loved Nolan dearly. Unfortunately, I feel that it is appropriate for our family to dispel some rumors with facts based upon the social media attention that is being diverted away from the Wells family and their loss. Yes, I deactivated my Facebook, given the very heightened emotional state of social media right now. I fear for the safety of my child and my children. My husband and I have 6 children, and we covet their privacy. We do not believe it is appropriate for our minor children's photographs to be circulated throughout the internet, presenting potential threats to their safety. I graduated high school with Christine Wells Wansley. We are from the same community. I have the utmost respect for her and all the Wells family. We mourn the loss of Nolan with them. Our prayers have been and will continue to be with them. My husband and I were not at Horn Island at any point on 4th of July. No one in our family is trying in any way to impede with the investigation by law enforcement or to otherwise hamper the family and law enforcement's quest for answers. Warren was interviewed by the Jackson County Sheriff's Department and cooperated fully. He saw Nolan last around 3 p.m. on July 4th. They left around 4:30 p.m. when the boat was taking on water, and they had an issue with the bilge pump. Nolan made a decision to stay on the island and return inland later with another group of friends. Yes, I am a judge. I also value transparency. I apologize if anyone was offended that I deleted my social media. There were no nefarious motivations in my deleting my social media. Social media has a lot of positives, but a whole lot of negatives. We live in a world of clickbaiting, sad but true. My family is hopeful that this information will help redirect the attention to the Wells family, their grief, and their need for our community support. Now, despite what they're hearing from other parents and the sheriff expressing they haven't found any evidence of foul play, Nolan's family is not letting up. As Crump would point out in his interview with ABC News, there are some clear inconsistencies taking place, like the young lady who Nolan was last seen speaking with, sharing that Nolan went back to the boat his friends were on, while those friends, as you can see, are saying that Nolan never got back on the boat with them.
And then you have the young lady make a statement, and she says, Nolan and I finished talking, and Nolan said he was going back to the boat. The boys on the boat said, no, Nolan told them he was going to stay with her. So which is it? And all we know is Nolan is dead.
Now, according to Benjamin Crump, the independent findings from Nolan's new autopsy is expected to come in on Friday. And if there were deleted text messages from Nolan's phone, there are a few possible ways those messages will be recovered and hopefully exposing what took place on the island that day. Let's talk about it more in the comments below. Now that we're hearing that there were deleted text messages in Nolan's phone before it was returned to his family, what do you think needs to happen next?
All right, so wait, I want to add something here real quick, Russ. So
all leading questions.
Yeah, wait, let me mention two things just to get it out before I lose my thought. I'd love to get your thoughts on this. So one thing is there is no official statements from this girl, Katie, whoever this girl is. So I don't know where Crump's getting that from. I'm not saying he doesn't get it. He didn't get it, but there's no statements here from them. And I'll be honest with you. Here's my biggest concern. Why the police are doing their investigation, Crump needs to hold off. He shouldn't be doing an investigation at the same time that there is a legal investigation going on or a criminal or investigation of what happened, because I think that's a concern. So I would like I know Crump's doing his own independent investigation. They really should be doing that once this investigation is completed, and it's not completed. They're waiting for the toxicology. So that's one concern I have. Second thing is, if let's say me and Russ go and I want to get rid of Russ, right? Why would I not also get rid of the phone? Why would I give the phone back to the family with deleted messages? Why not get rid of the phone? Why would I even take it? Why would I give it back? I mean, if I'm killing Russ, which would be very impossible unless I am able to get a shot at his knee, maybe. Remember, guys, I'm 5'5", he's 7'3". But no, on a serious note, why would I give the family back the phone, Russ? If I'm doing something foolish, you think I would give the phone back to the family, or you think I would want to get rid of that?
Yeah, I think that that they would get rid of it, and that's why there's a lot of suppositions running around here. And in the video that we just saw, they're not quoting people; they're saying things that they've been told, and there's no corroboration of any of the things that were said from an official source who actually sat down and questioned any of these people. So I just don't like the way presuppositions have flowed in this. I think it's terribly unfair to those who apparently had nothing to do with this. And then if it does turn out later to be something more nefarious, then fine. But there's a lot of jumping to conclusions. And the problem with this is no matter how mundane his demise may have been, this stuff about, conspiracies and things happen and stuff are going to remain. And that is going to be what a large portion of people who feel disaffected by the process or by the system or anything else are going to continue to frame it no matter what comes out. So, this is, I don't think that the attorney is doing a service to the family at all. And I don't think that the type of reporting that carried, his particular interview, we want to call it that, is doing any favors either. This is clickbait, pure and simple.
Yeah, so look at this. A parallel investigation by Crump does not automatically create a legal conflict with the official case. It's common in high-profile deaths, but it has to be handled carefully so it doesn't interfere with the criminal investigation. So why generally allowed? Civil versus criminal lanes. The sheriff's DA runs the criminal investigation on behalf of the state. Crump represents the family in a potential civil wrongful death matter. But I don't think that's the case, because he's trying to say it's not a wrongful. If he's trying to say that he could have been killed by his friends, that's a criminal investigation. How is that a civil investigation? That's not a wrongful death. Courts and DOJ guidance explicitly recognize that parallel criminal and civil investigations are permissible as long as there's no abuse, like using one process to improperly circumvent rights to the other. In other cases, like George Floyd or Jelani Day, families hire Crump while criminal inquiries were ongoing, commissioned independent autopsies and gathered evidence at the same time prosecutors and police were working. So yes, he can investigate, talk to witnesses, and hire experts while the sheriff's case is open. Where the conflict and friction can show up is, even if it's allowed, there are real tension points. Witnesses caught between teams. A witness might be interviewed by police and also by Crump's team. Defense lawyers for friends may tell them not to talk to Crump at all or to invoke the fifth in any civil setting while criminal risk exists. And that can make it look like they're hiding, but from a defense perspective, it's classic risk management. Crump uses press conferences, TV hits, and social media to push for transparency and shape the narrative. That can pressure agencies to move and encourage witnesses to come forward. Law enforcement sometimes warns that intense media campaigns can taint witness memories or make people coordinate stories after watching coverage. And an independent autopsy like the one Crump commissioned in the Floyd case can directly contradict the state autopsy, which is legally allowed and often powerful for the family. It doesn't block the official ME. It just creates a dueling expert scenario that prosecutors or civil juries have to sort out later. If Crump files a wrongful death suit while criminal charges are possible, defendants can refuse to answer certain questions by invoking the fifth in civil court. A jury is allowed to draw negative inferences from that silence. Prosecutors sometimes ask civil lawyers to delay certain dispositions or disclosures so they don't tip off potential defendants or complicate charging decisions. And to wrap it up, true ethical conflict arises when the same lawyer is both a prosecutor and civil lawyer in the same incident. Crump is not a prior. I don't know. I don't know. In my mind, if I was doing an investigation and, you know, in any whatever, I don't know if it's going to be criminal yet. I'm still trying to do the investigation. And by the way, they don't know if it's civil yet because we don't know. I don't understand how this could be running parallel, but I guess they could. I just don't think I think that would interfere with what. Why can't they wait for the completion? Like, why can't you wait until this side is completed before you go ahead and push for the civil side? I just feel, I don't know, I guess the way the world works here, but I would be very upset if I was interviewing witnesses for my case and behind me is this gentleman interviewing the same people I'm interviewing, because I think it could possibly have influence on what I'm doing. This is where, in my world, in corrections, it doesn't work that way. When you have an investigation going on, and let's say it could be criminal, administrative, everything takes a step aside. We wait because we don't interfere with the higher level investigation, because the higher level investigation will always be what could be towards criminal. Okay, I got one more interview here, Russ. We're almost done. We have one more section left, but I got to show this. It's the ABC interview from Crump. So let me show that. Hold on. Got to play it. Commercial real quick. And then I have a question for you, Russ, for this section. Okay, hold on. This is 4 minutes. Hold on a second. Let me share this. This is the actual interview. Hey, Russ, real quick, your thoughts. Are you okay with both investigations running at once? Does that seem?
Well, the fact is that there's some of that's allowed. I don't know, that he's established any even reasonable suspicion, though, to point at anything. And so, can we say you can't even say that there's a problem with the death yet, and I'm sure that he's going to get his own forensics out there and is going to latch onto something. And that's why I don't like this guy. That's why I don't like him.
Yeah, because I feel if it could be whatever. I mean, I don't understand why. If I was running that investigation on the law enforcement side and I had someone else going behind me, I was like, can we just wait? Can you give me a chance to finish what I need to finish before you start ruining it? Because by the time I move forward, I think I have done and go to push it forward. How do I know what he's not doing behind the scenes is going to mess with the integrity of my investigation? Maybe I don't want it to go to the media right now. Maybe I want to at least make sure I understand what's happening, provide some context before we start jumping to the media. But here he is jumping to the media, which also now forces. But I'm saying when he jumps to the media, it now forces law enforcement to push things out faster.
Yeah, it does that. But our wishes don't always count, and that's why I don't like lawyers like him.
Yeah. All right. This is what
Attorney Ben Crump, who's representing Nolan Wells' family. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Crump. Just from where you sit, what are the biggest unanswered questions so far about this case?
Obviously, the biggest question is what happened to Nolan Wells. I think the reason this case has caught such fire is because they see the pictures, they see the video, and they're saying, hold on, you're trying to tell us just accept this an accident and sweep it under the rug? His mother, Christine, his father, Elmo, say, no, they will not allow that to happen. His friends, his community. I mean, he was a good kid. He was beloved. He was a college athlete. He had everything going for him. And so to go on that island for 4th of July celebration and then not to come back is what is concerning everybody, especially when you hear the contradictions.
And you're conducting your own investigation. How will that differ from what the authorities are doing?
Well, one thing, we're trying to be very transparent because the family has some concerns about the state of Mississippi doing an investigation of the death of a young Black man where young white students may be looked at as having some culpability. So the family is concerned about that. So we're going to have an independent autopsy. We have investigators talking to witnesses.
Hey, Russ, real quick, just on that alone, I just want to mention something. So it's funny because as he says this could cause doubt in the result that law enforcement will come out with, which is what he wants, correct? This is just to create bias against the system.
Yeah, it's tactical and in a bad way.
Yeah, because his transparency is not objectivity. His transparency right now is to hide in some implicit bias against the work law enforcement is doing. So he's like, yeah, of course we want to be transparent. We want to push things out. Yeah, with an unproven narrative, because I'm sure even at this point, law enforcement probably can't hand over all the evidence that they have. So in the end, his information will not be the same as what law enforcement will have, which is a lot more evidence that they're going to have to hold a little bit tighter. So his effort to push transparency will lack context. It will lack context.
If he wanted transparency, then he should wait for the ME findings.
Yeah, I love that. That's true too. That's a very good point. You know, and by the way, the police never. Like, it's like, this is what we think, but it's not confirmed. They're still waiting for toxicology. And sometimes they say that because, again, if later on something proves out different, okay, then they can always say, let's bring these people in. But their biggest concern is putting something out there too quick and attacking people that are innocent. You know, it's crazy because if this was reversed, we would be thrown against the wall.
That have no alignment or no allegiance to the state. And that's important, Lindsay. When you think about Mississippi and the history of Mississippi, you know, this is the state where Emmett Till was lynched.
You mentioned earlier there are some contradictions.
Yes.
What gives you confidence or perhaps concern about the investigation so far?
Well, the fact that they continue to tell the family that we don't see any evidence of any foul play, even though you have students who recorded an altercation while they were on the boats of argument where you had Nolan and somebody yelling at one another on the boat. So that's an issue. And then you have the young lady make a statement and she says, well, Nolan and I finished talking and Nolan said he was going back to the boat. And then the boys on the boat said, no, Nolan told them he was going to stay with her. And so they are conflicting. She's saying he went and got on the boat. They saying he didn't get on the boat. So which is it? And all we know is Nolan is.
I just want to say another thing real quick. Maybe he lost interest in the girl and he could have said, hey, I'm if that even happened, this is not even documented what she said, but hypothetically, he could have said, yo, I got to go. You know, and just because he wanted to break away from the girl. You don't know. I mean, but this guy is really, there's nothing solidified from the investigative agency, the main one, that has any of these statements that he's saying. Hold on.
Dead.
The Wells family, Nolan's parents, how are they coping in this moment?
Lindsay, they are in disbelief. They are in disbelief. You know, Nolan was to report back on Monday after the 4th of July to his college. That's when fall practice started. He did phenomenal. He was looking forward to getting an NIL deal with Division I football. He had everything going for them himself, and his family just can't believe that he's gone. His mother, Christina, is in constant depression, but my baby is gone. His father's trying to be strong, but obviously he's trying to explain to Nolan's younger brothers and sisters, what happened, Daddy? What happened?
Can you clarify for us what was going on with his cell phone?
Yeah, and that's something that's really troubling to his family as well. You know, the guys on the boat, they said Nolan stayed, but they took his cell phone. That's not adding up to them. The fact that then when the family gets the cell phone back, Lindsay, they're saying they are trying to understand why they're deleted messages. And so it's very concerning to them.
And we know that Nolan.
You heard the timing of that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that.
Nolan was a great athlete on the football field. Do we have any sense of how comfortable he was around water and boats?
You know, his father said he was an elite athlete, that he prided himself on his physical prowess. He said that his son could swim, and so they're just not accepting that Nolan drowned accidentally.
Key word is that they're not accepting it. I get it, but that doesn't mean that they're correct either. I mean, a lot of people don't accept what happened to their loved ones.
Beyond the headlines, have the Wells family said how they would like Nolan to be remembered?
Yeah, everybody, not only his parents, but the whole community, his teachers, his coaches, the people at his college, they're saying he was just a great guy, always trying to be supportive, be encouraging, wanted to make the world a better place. His mother talked about his smile, and she's like, she doesn't know when she's ever going to smile again.
Mr. Crump, we thank you so much.
All right. So, Russ, the question here is how much confidence do you personally place in the initial likely drowning, no evidence of a crime posture from local officials before any independent autopsy or toxicology is released, especially considering Mississippi's history and the racial dynamic here? I don't really see that at play. They didn't say that was the definitive answer, by the way. They're just telling you what their initial impression is. And it's funny because a lot of people will say you can't use the past, but then order create implicit bias. You talk about Emmett Till and okay, but tell me how that plays out right here, right now. Because if we were in court and if I was to say, you know, hey, Russ's past was a drug dealer and he's definitely guilty now because of his past, they would throw it out immediately, but we automatically judge a state because of his history from years ago, and then automatically make that same determination when you can clearly see that this was a solidified group of friends hanging out.
Yeah. So I'll just say this in wrapping up. You know, it's a tragedy for the family. I think it's being made more tragic by some of the people that are surrounding them and that they've invited into their inner circle there. I think that ultimately, you know, I want justice done, but justice is blind and holds the scales and weighs the evidence without, you know, bias or preconceptions. So, you know, the pain of losing a child is horrible. And so, you know, I think that they're very vulnerable right now. And I hope that they get not the answers that they're looking for, but that they get the answers that are true and correct. And, you know, I'll say certainly say a prayer for them and for their child tonight.
Yeah, now I got, hold on. All right, Russ, I got two more, I think it's three more sections. Hold on, we're done. Almost. Just bear with me because there's an update here. Okay, so Wednesday, July 8th, 2026, there was a public appeal and conflicting narratives. On July 8th, the Jackson County Sheriff's Office issues an updated, more detailed public appeal. In that statement, they specifically asked the public for original unedited photos and videos taken on the northwest tip of Horn Island on July 4th. They say they're especially interested in footage that shows alleged altercation or that contains images believed to include Nolan. They also asked for statements from anyone who observed or heard an argument, disturbance, or unusual activity while on the island that day, and from anyone who spoke with or interacted with Nolan. And that's because there was that video posted. So they're trying to see what's going on. And again, they're exhausting all avenues because they have to check that. If they don't check it, then people will think that they didn't do their due diligence. But that doesn't mean that automatically the story shifts. It just means that's an avenue of a tip that was sent their way that they have to exhaust. At the same time, the sheriff's office warns that misinformation and speculation on social media are hindering the investigation, which is what's going to wind up happening with Crump, by the way. And sometimes I think that's what they want to do. They want to cause confusion because the confusion could bring about doubt. And then when the investigation comes complete, it's going to doubt the findings. Sheriff Ledbetter says many people are calling to report what they've seen online rather than what they personally witnessed. He stresses that investigators need original documentation and firsthand knowledge, original videos, original audio, original photographs, and firsthand witness accounts, not screenshots, reposts, or secondhand narratives. Even as they continue to describe the case publicly as an apparent drowning with no evidence of a crime so far, the language of this appeal makes clear they are actively examining whether an altercation or disturbance on the island may have contributed to what happened. Now, let me show you this.
I mean, you just rule things out. You know, it doesn't mean that they feel that there's something there. It means that they're examining it to rule it in or rule it out. It doesn't mean that something happened.
Yeah, and I just want to share this. This is a 45-second clip right here. And I tell you guys, you're not getting coverage just anywhere else. We're fair. I mean, we're not bastardizing one side or the other, but in the process, we are kind of saying what we're leaning towards. Okay, so this, can you see the video, Russ?
Yep.
New questions are mounting over the final moments for Nolan Wells, the Mississippi college football player whose body was found on Horn Island yesterday. It comes as his family has retained well-known civil rights attorney Ben Crump to help them with this case. Right now, the coroner's office is doing an autopsy to determine how the 18-year-old died. He went missing Saturday afternoon on the 4th of July while on a boating trip with friends, but he never returned back with his friends on that same boat. And we do know the local sheriff's department is looking for any photos, videos, any kind of witnesses who may have seen him to come forward or to say that they know anything. Ben Crump also issued a statement saying that the family deserves to know the truth and that he will not rest until they know exactly what happened to Nolan.
Yeah, then the question is he going to accept it when it becomes that? The problem is that when they start causing these doubts, then it's not really about what the proper resolution is, but rather he needs to prove he's right and everyone else is wrong. And that's where it becomes a concern, where it's not even about the case anymore. It's about proving he's right as opposed to what happened. So Crump in TV interviews and posts lays out the family concerns. Nolan's phone returned with messages deleted, according to the family when they got it back. Is all according to the family. Friends taking the phone off the island, which, again, the phone could have been left there. You know, it doesn't mean they actually took it. A reported argument over substances Nolan didn't want in his system before Monday's tryout. The body being flown to Washington, D.C. for an independent autopsy with results expected Friday. So that's today's Thursday, so tomorrow. Interested about that. And we'll do a follow-up on that. And the racial context of a black teen on a boat with white friends in Mississippi who ends up dead. Judge Ashley Cole releases a written defense of her son, Warren, saying that neither parent was on Horn Island that day, that Warren loved Nolan and has cooperated fully, that the boat they were on was taken on water and had a bilge pump issue, that Nolan chose to stay and planned to return on another boat, and that she deleted Facebook because of safety concerns for her children rather than any nefarious motive. Sheriff Ledbetter continues to say there is no evidence of a crime at this stage, but also that the investigation is active and his office is sifting through a barrage of social media-driven leads to separate rumor from credible evidence. All right, so this is the wrap up, guys. Hey, Russ, real quick, do you know what a bilge pump error is? Or concern?
A bilge pump? Yeah. A bilge pump, there's parts in some boats, with slow leaks and stuff, or just, water coming in and flowing down to the lowest point, where the bilge pump pumps that water out. So if they were, taking on water and their bilge pump wasn't working correctly, then they either have to hand bail or hand pump. And so that's a concern. And if you're worried about it, you try and get back to where you can either get the boat out or fix the pump or do whatever.
All right, and then I don't have a question for you at this point, Russ. Not just yet. I have a video though. This is when they discovered his body. So we're wrapping up, guys. We're starting to do the wrap up. So hear me out. This is when they discover his body. Russ, can you see the video?
Yeah.
Questions continue to surround Nolan Wells' death after the 18-year-old went missing on a 4th of July boat trip to Mississippi's Horn Island. The Southwest Mississippi Community College student and football player was last seen alive on Horn Island on July 4th, according to the Jackson County Sheriff's Office. The sheriff told ABC News, Nolan Wells was on a boat. He left from a private dock area in the Ocean Springs area and proceeded with his friends to Horn Island, adding, they left and went back without Nolan. From what we understand, he chose to stay there. After Wells didn't return home, his mother, Christine Wansley, reported him missing at midnight, according to WLOX, sparking a multi-day search effort. At around 8:45 a.m. on July 6th, a body that matched the description of Wells was discovered off the shore of the island's northwest end, the sheriff confirmed to the New York Post that day. The body was confirmed to be Wells through dental records. Jackson County Coroner Bruce Lynn told CBS News. He additionally shared that an autopsy took place on July 7th, but findings from it have not yet been made public. In a statement on Facebook, Wansley shared that she was, quote, absolutely devastated by her son's loss, saying, my heart is broken for our sweet son, who was always willing to cheer and uplift others. Nolan was a special soul. God took his time creating our son. I ask that you all please give me and my family privacy as we grieve. On July 7th, the sheriff's office announced that they were continuing to actively investigate the circumstances surrounding Wells' death and were, quote, working to establish the facts through eyewitness accounts, physical evidence, and other reliable information. The department also sought the public's help in their efforts, asking for anyone who was on Horn Island on July 4th to reach out if they, quote, observed or heard an argument, disturbance, or other unusual activity, or if they took any unedited photos and videos on the island, believed to include Wells. The sheriff's department saying, original media often contains critical details that may be essential to the ongoing investigation, adding, even information that may seem insignificant could prove valuable to investigators. We encourage anyone with firsthand knowledge to come forward. In an interview published on July 7th, the sheriff told ABC News that at this time, investigators do not suspect foul play, saying, there is no information that we have right now that would lead us to believe that a crime has occurred. Amid the investigation, civil rights attorney Benjamin Crump has announced that he's been retained by Wells' family. Writing on X, his family deserves answers. They deserve the truth. We will not rest until every fact about what happened to Nolan on Horn Island is brought into the light, and we call on investigators to pursue this case with the urgency and transparency this family deserves.
All right, Russ, there's two last questions here on the two videos. So, guys, this is wrapping up. So, what's the current status? So, I guess we're going to move now from speculation. Let's separate what's confirmed from what's speculation, right? So, as of July 9th, Nolan's body is being transported to Washington, D.C. for an independent autopsy arranged by Ben Crump and the family. Crump has said they expect preliminary findings from that independent autopsy on Friday, July 10th. Those results will be a crucial pivot point. If they show trauma or injuries inconsistent with straightforward drowning, it could fundamentally shift the direction of the investigation. If they confirm a clean drowning with no significant trauma, that would lend weight to the accidental drowning theory while still leaving questions about the events leading up to Nolan's disappearance. The state autopsy has been performed, but officials' cause and manner of death has not yet been released. Toxicology results could take several weeks. The sheriff's office continued to publicly state they are treating the case as a drowning at this time and that they have found no evidence of a crime so far, while at the same time stressing that the investigation is active and that their position could change as new evidence is verified. The friend group and some of their relatives have retained legal counsel. Several of them have deactivated or privatized social media accounts. Through Judge Cole and some other statements, they say this is due to safety concerns and legal prudence, not an attempt to hide anything. And guys, sometimes people grab legal counsel right away, not because they're guilty, but because they know they're going to be attacked. The official GoFundMe for Nolan, organized by Aliyah Dennis, was endorsed and endorsed by Christine, continues to raise money. Christine has warned about fake fundraisers, and directed the public only to the confirmed campaign. And in describing where the case stands, Crump has said that clearly the main question is what transpired with Nolan Wells, and he has stressed publicly that Nolan's parents will not allow their son's death to be swept under the rug. For them, the focus is not only on the mechanism of death, but on what happened in the crucial window between Nolan being seen alive at the northwest tip of Horn Island and his friends leaving the island without him with his phone in their possession. Now, by the way, guys, no one said that the Nolan's death is getting swept under the rug. They're still looking into it. And again, they said this is what they believe so far. So don't think that Crump's coming in being a hero because the police want to put everything on the rug. There's a little bit of bias there. He's not. They're still looking into it. So don't, the case is still open. All right, Russ, this last video for the question. We did the whole thing, Russ. I'm happy. This was a good show. Let me just get rid of this. And I think we did a fair narrative. Hold on, it's a commercial. I think we were fair in our presenting, or at least present the side that's not being done. I think, did we do this one?
Yeah.
Oh, this is good, Russ. We did this video.
Okay.
Oh, wait, and then hold on, get rid of that one. Then the only one I have left is this last one right here. This is the last one. This is the TMZ interview I wanted to put in. I knew I had a TMZ interview, so I wanted to put that in. Okay, we'll get to that. So, Russ, here's the second to last question for you. Going into the independent autopsy, what specific findings or lack of findings would make you change your mind about whether Nolan's death was a tragic accident, an altercation that got out of control, or outright foul play? And this is in fairness.
I think that the only thing that's probably going to make a difference is, a cause of death, that's other than drowning. I think that, if there was, strangulation, a gunshot wound, a knife wound, blunt force trauma, then, that would point toward foul play. I think that what we're going to see with the toxicology results are going to be pretty mundane. I think the most that we're probably going to see is maybe some alcohol present, but that's just going to go back to perhaps bolstering what may have happened with the drowning. Once again, this kind of thing with regards to water, unfortunately, happens a lot. Water is, by far, one of the most dangerous things to be around during any kind of recreation. So, hopefully with the release of some of the findings, I think it's tomorrow, maybe there'll be some more answers for the family. And I hope that whatever is in there is something that assuages them.
Yeah, and guys, Little Ray Howery, that's an actor. I think he's a comedian. He gave $1,000 to Nolan's family, but I like what he says. I just hope they get answers. I hope they find the truth. His quote was, "I just want the Nolan family to find out the truth," and that's what I'm contributing to, finding out the truth. That family and the young man deserves that. So I believe that's a very fair. That is extremely fair. All right, so this is the last. This is what we know for sure. We went over that. I think for me, obviously the first thing with the autopsy is we didn't see anything official trauma, so that matters to me. I think if the toxicology comes back and there's some alcohol in his system, depending on what the levels are, I would assume just some impulsive action when he was under the influence of something, or maybe he wanted to swim and he got caught up because that is a dangerous area there. But I'm leaning towards just basically some drowning. What led to it, I don't think it's foul play. What led to it is maybe him just going in that water and testing himself a little bit. So the key unanswered questions here, which I'm sure law enforcement knows, because by the way, law enforcement also interviews people, so they're making in their earlier prelim, whatever they're doing, so they're also making their conclusions or leaning towards certain conclusions because they have more facts than we do. So what we don't know right now, but not saying they don't know, is why did the friends leave Nolan on an uninhabited island without a phone and without confirming that he had another ride off the island? I think we touched on a little bit of that, but I'm sure law enforcement knows. Who physically had Nolan's phone from the moment the boat left Horn Island until the moment it was turned over to his mother? And can investigators account for every action taken on that phone in that window, including deleted messages? Who deleted messages from Nolan's phone, and at what point were those deletions made? What exactly does the 4:01 p.m. viral video show, and who appears in that footage? Did an argument about substances in Monday's football tryout escalate into something more serious? And if so, how? Who is the young woman Nolan was last seen talking with? I'll guarantee law enforcement talked to her. Katie, and what did she see or hear in the time leading up to her his disappearance? Or law enforcement knows that she needs to be spoken to. Why did multiple friends and relatives shut down social media or make accounts private almost immediately after the incident? We kind of talked on that. What will the independent autopsy reveal about injuries versus a simple drowning pattern? What will state toxicology show about whether Nolan had alcohol or other substances in his system and at what levels? And will witnesses with original video, photos, or direct accounts of any altercation involving Nolan come forward? And will those accounts align with or contradict the current story that simply is close to the stay? Last question, Russ, and I got one video and we're done. Of all these unanswered questions, which one do you think is the true pressure point, the single issue that, if answered clearly, would tell us the most about what really happened to Nolan Wells?
It's going to be what's in the autopsy.
The toxicology?
Well, no, I don't think the toxicology is going to tell us anything, except it may bolster some idea about, about decision making and ability. But I think that if it's just a drowning and there's no other of those things that I mentioned, blunt force trauma, knife wound, gunshot wound, or strangulation, then it's a drowning. So pure and simple.
Yeah, and I would lean obviously towards the autopsy or witness statements as well. I mean, people may know who he is now. Does that mean they knew who he was on the island when they were there, and that they can recall everything he did? Unless he stood out to them for some reason, we don't know. But I think obviously the autopsy is going to tell the story, and the toxicology will also provide some context. And I think, to be honest with you, I think the finding, in my opinion, will be accidental, because even if he's accidental. All right, last video, guys, and I hopefully you guys enjoyed this content. I know I don't know how many people are covering it from this perspective or at this level. This is TMZ again, not a big fan, but I just want to go over this video. Can you see a video?
Yeah. Every aspect of why Nolan Wells is not with us today. We know that he was with his friends. They went out on Horn Island, as Charles said. He was the only black teenager that was there.
Yeah.
And, all of them came back safely on the boat with his cell phone, Harvey. But Nolan's body was found washed up on the shore on Monday morning. His family is not accepting that it was an accidental drowning. They haven't been told anything, but that's been the suggestion, and they're not accepting that because Nolan was a college football player. He was a superior athlete. He was in great fitness and condition. And so for them to try to say, well, we got his phone, but we don't know where he's at, and then he turns up dead, they are not accepting it. And there are so many questions, so many contradictions.
I know there is one friend, a young woman who has come forward and has spoken to the police, and I'm wondering if she's spoken to you and how her version of events differ from what the other friends have said.
She hasn't spoken to us, but we know her statement that she released publicly. She said that she was talking to Nolan, and then Nolan said, well, I'm going back to the boat with the guys I came with. That's her version. She said that he did not leave with her, that he went back and got in the boat with the other boys. Well, the boys say that when they was talking to Nolan, he said he wasn't going to get in the boat with them that he was going to stay with her, stay behind with her. Their statements contradict one another, and that is something that's very troubling. On top of the fact that we know there are videos circulating where there's an argument where you hear Nolan arguing with somebody, and we're trying to say, this is too much to just try to sweep under the rug. No, we want to have a thorough investigation.
See, my only thing, Russ, real quick as we go around, is that I'm not saying it can't be confirmed or not, but I want people to know the stuff that he's saying has not been confirmed, and he's talking.
Yeah. Also,
it's confirmed.
Also, I looked, and not saying that I would necessarily find it, but he's saying that this Katie put out a public statement.
Yeah,
I
where
can't
is
find it. Where is it? Where is
That's
it?
what I was looking for too.
And so he didn't say, oh, she talked to him or he talked to her. He's saying that she made a public statement. I haven't found it.
And I haven't found it because I was looking for that. And also, my biggest concern is the police will interview her. She could be a key piece to this, and then he can go ahead and now talk to her. I just think that it's upsetting to me. Okay, hold on.
As if it was 3 black boys and a white boy who was with them ended up dead. We want that same investigation.
You have such a
You say
history
anything
with
then.
civil rights cases. Are you suggesting race is an issue here?
We're talking about the state of Mississippi, and we know, based on the history of America, in the Deep South, there have been many racial killings where there were nobody held accountable. We don't know what happened here, but we cannot forget history, and we have to respect his parents saying that we want an independent investigation because we're not trusting people who are affiliated with Mississippi law enforcement. We have too many lived experiences as Black people in America. It's not adding up. It is simply not adding up. The fact that what teenager gives up their cell phone, that is always something that has us bewildered. The fact that his parents, his mother and father, when they're looking at the phone, they're seeing some deleted messages. So they're trying to figure out what's that about. So we want to dot every I, cross every T, and look under every rock, literally, because they are not accepting that the police saying where there's no foul play, let's just go ahead and move on. Well, they can't move on because Nolan is dead.
Are they seriously investigating this? Are they talking to the family? What's the state there?
We don't know what they're doing. As I understand it, they have not communicated with the family.
Has Nolan's body been returned to the family? And do you have plans for, we've covered cases like this with you before, that there's going to be an independent autopsy?
We are flying Nolan's body from Mississippi to Washington, D.C. to have a doctor perform an independent autopsy because his parents wanted autopsy done by a doctor that had no affiliation with law enforcement in the state of Mississippi, because that's how concerned they are about getting to the truth and not having any hints of impropriety.
Hey, Russ, it's so
Parents, his
funny.
mother and father, when they're looking at the
Look at
phone,
this.
they're seeing some deleted messages. So they're trying to figure out what's that about. So we want to dot every I, cross every T, and look under every rock, literally, because they are not accepting that the police saying where there's no foul play, let's just go ahead and move on. Well, they can't move on.
I'm going to look for that quote, Russ. I just want to see, where did police say there's no foul play, we're going to just move on? Did you see that anywhere?
No, it's nowhere.
So he could just say that. Again, guys, look at what's being tossed your way. The police did not say, they may have said they don't believe there's foul play at this point. That's why they're still doing the investigation. But it's, let's move on. And the one thing I like to say is, man, I guess defense attorneys like this, they could throw out stereotypes all day and cause confusion amongst the generality, which puts law enforcement at a very severe disadvantage. It's hard to compete against wild generalities and allegations and assumptions when these are the facts. And my biggest concern is, okay, even if the family doesn't accept what it is, okay, a lot of families will never accept what happened, but that doesn't negate the fact that this is the truth. So what I would ask is, what would Nolan want? If these were Nolan's friends, because he does say it's his friends, but then he's saying, but they would have killed him. I mean, all right, so what would Nolan want? Nolan would want the truth. And if the friends were not involved, I mean, how would Nolan feel right now in this moment when his friends are being attacked by this lawyer? Russ, anything you'd like to say in closing?
Yeah, I just hope, everyone out there will look at this as a learning mechanism for what happens on social media. I know that we're here on social media as well, but trying to look at this from all sides. I would just be happy though if everyone tonight did say a prayer for the family and for Nolan.
Yeah, you gotta, when you go through this, guys, you gotta keep that open mind. Even though we lean towards another narrative, it's a narrative that's not being cut. It's a narrative that's not being produced out there, because right now everybody just wants this part. Even TMZ, even with Carmelo, and now this. Oh, you think it's racial? I mean, where's the proof, man? I mean, where's the proof? If it comes out later, okay, fine. But right now, where's the proof now, in the moment? Where's the proof now, before we start attacking people that could be innocent? Because if we had this amount of evidence and everything was reversed, Trump would be coming all over us. I want you guys to know that. If we had the same amount of evidence and pushing it towards a narrative that, let's say, someone that he was representing, he would tell you this is not enough. This is garbage. You're just going after him because of whatever reason. Can we just let the evidence come through? Can't we let the police finish their investigation instead of us meddling to create the story that we want? And then after that, see what's the next step instead of causing all this doubt. And his transparency, to be honest with you, it's just that. The case will come out when it's ready. Give time. But I love how he puts doubt in the system by talking about Mississippi's history. And then all of a sudden, when the evidence comes out, you already got people that are going to blame the system and use the same thing that he said, Mississippi's history. All right, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the content. We have Buy Me a Cup of Coffee. Link that in the description while top of the YouTube channel. Stay safe.